Marina Mabrey has broken her silence finally about shoving Caitlin Clark.
We're not doing this. Apparently, Marina Mabrey has now come forward and said she overreacted with the Caitlin Clark foul. Overreacted? I feel like you're trying to cover your ass because now they're talking about investigations.
Caitlin Clark keeps racking up records and apparently racking up enemies too. Now, Marina Mabrey has openly admitted to deliberately targeting and shoving her. Yep, you heard correctly. She actually confessed. The jealousy is practically radiating off the court. And the reasoning she gave? You're going to shake your head at this one. So tell me, are you buying what Mabrey's trying to sell?
Got upgraded to a flagrant 2 because of the way the fans reacted to it, Mabrey said on the shove on Clark. They gave me a tech for it initially. I don't care. Honestly, I really don't. Obviously, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to go after certain players for certain SHIT. She said, me and Caitlin were cool. She added, me and Caitlin have competed against each other in the playoffs. She threw me into the benches in the quarterfinals. We didn't go after her for it.
Let's get something straight from the start. Caitlin Clark is no longer the new kid on the block. This isn't her rookie campaign anymore. We're now in year 2. She's established herself as a legitimate pro. The hype? Still here. The stats? Still here. And the records? She's practically done breaking other people's records and has moved on to chasing her own. Case in point, one of her trading cards just sold for a staggering $379,200 at auction. That's the 3rd highest price ever for a Clark card, and it's one of 11 cards of hers to sell for over 6 figures. All of this is happening while she's sidelined with a groin injury. She's not even on the court, and she's still outpacing everyone else in the league financially. But here's the absurd part. While Clark is single-handedly elevating the WNBA's exposure and market value, certain players within the league keep trying to bring her down. And I don't mean metaphorically. Enter Marina Mabrey.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
If you've been keeping tabs on the season, you already know exactly which shove we're talking about. This wasn't your typical foul. It wasn't a hard contest gone wrong. No, this was one of those I'm making a point kind of hits, except the point was, I'm jealous, and for 3 seconds, I completely lost my composure. Here's how it unfolded. JC Sheldon pokes Clark in the eye, which already had Fever fans up in arms. The whistle blows, halting play, and then Mabrey comes in from the side full speed, like she's lining up for a linebacker drill. She puts both hands on Clark and sends her crashing to the hardwood.
Scrape across the face.
Keep in mind, this all happened after the whistle. Play had stopped. There was no ball in play, no fight for position, no reason for contact, just an open shot at the league's most valuable star. Now Mabrey's finally speaking on it, and wow. In an interview with Sportskeeda's Mark Medina, she admits she might have overreacted a little. A little? That's like saying a Category 5 hurricane is a bit windy. Her defense? She claims her teammate was taking hits and she felt the need to step in. She insists it wasn't personal, that she doesn't normally act this way, and that she and Clark were fine before the incident. She even dredged up last year's playoffs, saying Clark supposedly threw her into the bench during a play back then. According to Mabrey, she didn't retaliate at that time, so this current shove shouldn't be seen as targeted payback.
He follows it up and Clark pushes her. That's going to be a second foul.
Here's the issue, Marina. First, last year's playoff collision, that was actual basketball. Players were moving, the ball was live, and physicality was part of the competition. Your shove this time? That happened after the whistle. That's not competitive play. That's a cheap shot. Second, you're acting like this was some rare, isolated moment. It's not. You've simply joined an ever-growing list of players taking questionable liberties with Clark. Kennedy Carter's blindside shove, Diamond DeShield's full-speed collision, Angel Reese's conveniently accidental elbows. And now you're leaning on the "I was protecting my teammate" excuse? Weak. Very weak. Anyone who's watched the footage can see Clark wasn't even defending Sheldon when you came barreling in. This was about sending a message, plain and simple. And my favorite part? Mabrey claims the only reason her foul got bumped up to a flagrant 2 was because of fan backlash. As if the WNBA is thinking, we were going to ignore it, but Twitter got loud, so let's upgrade the call. No, Marina. It was upgraded because it was a flagrant. Period.
This incredible inability to deal with the facts and to state the obvious. It is astounding to me how Kathy Engelbert doesn't come out after the Marina Mabrey hit and say that's unacceptable. The refs got it wrong. Okay, should have been kicked out then. You weren't, but now I'm going to kick you out. You're suspended for another game or two. That's just unacceptable behavior for someone who's so important to the league or to any player, right? They can't do that. They seem paralyzed.
6. Fans aren't imagining this pattern. They've seen too many of these blatantly non-basketball plays aimed at Clark to think it's just coincidence. And truthfully, the league is lucky no one has suffered a serious injury yet. Because here's the reality. When you have a player like Clark, who is already a massive draw, every time she's targeted in this way, it's not just bad sportsmanship. It's bad business. You simply can't allow your most bankable athlete to be body-checked in ways that would get you arrested outside an arena. Speaking of that, let's be honest. If Mabrey had shoved a stranger in a grocery store the same way, that's assault. Depending on the state, you could be in cuffs before making it to the parking lot. But in the WNBA, it's brushed off as part of the game. Please. And that's why this situation, along with others, is now being discussed under the hostile work environment umbrella. Sure, the term sounds extreme, but think about it. If your workplace involved colleagues deliberately taking cheap shots outside the normal boundaries of the job, wouldn't you have a case? The Wall Street Journal even covered this, and the story exploded. Fox News, Jason Whitlock, Dan Dakich, they all jumped in with their own takes.
Overreacted? I feel like you're trying to cover your ass because now they're talking about investigations and now you're terrified. Now you're scared. Now you're shook. That was the real you. You're a snake. It is what it is. The game before that, when you saw Clark, you stopped her from signing autographs so you could hug her.
Which brings me to Mabrey's so-called apology. She's not sorry for doing it. She's sorry it's still a talking point, fueling the larger narrative that certain players are going out of their way to make Clark's life miserable. Make no mistake, this wasn't about competitive fire. Veteran players have admitted as much. Lexi Brown has said on her podcast that last year's rookies entered a toxic environment. The vibe was bad. The reason? Jealousy. And if it was toxic last year, imagine what it's like this year, when the rookie in question is now selling out arenas and having 300K sports cards move at auction. Here's the kicker. Clark hasn't done a single thing to provoke these players. She's not talking trash in the media. She's not lobbying refs for special treatment. She's simply playing basketball and drawing massive crowds, yet somehow that's enough to paint a target on her back.
The game before that, when you saw Clark, you stopped her from signing autographs so you could hug her. I would have thought y'all was cool. Now, all of a sudden, fast forward to the Connecticut game, she got Sheldon over here. You're knocking her to the ground. Tina Charles is wagging her finger at her like she's her mom or something. That's what y'all do. Y'all only won 5 games this season. I mean, what else y'all been doing this year? The highlight for the Connecticut Sun was injuring Caitlin Clark.
And here's the almost comical twist. Mabrey's shove ended up bringing Sophie Cunningham into the game, and Sophie wasn't about to let it slide. She immediately delivered a hard shot of her own to send a clear message. You mess with my teammate, you pay for it. That's the unspoken rule in sports. You protect your own. The difference here is that Sophie's hit came within the flow of play. Mabrey's? That was just an unprovoked cheap shot. The more I replay this in my head, the more it confirms what many of us have been saying all along. This isn't about tough basketball, it's about resentment. And Mabrey's public attempts to minimize it now suggest she knows she's under pressure. Because once you're on the short list of players the media is holding up as examples of a hostile work environment, you can't just ignore it. Sure, the league often looks the other way, but if federal authorities, or even just the commissioner's office, start probing, you'll be sitting under bright lights answering questions. And your "she threw me into the benches last year" defense? That's not going to cut it, especially when video clearly shows you attacked her when the ball wasn't in play. So let's step back and connect.